this season?
Well, I like doing first stuff. I mean, that was one of the things that we kind of prided ourselves at Baylor. It was just like be the first. And because, I mean, everybody, like players, you ask them, do you remember your first dunk? They all remember their first dunk, right? You ask them, do you remember your third dunk? They don't. It's like you remember your first girlfriend. My first girlfriend was Pam Hubbard. My last girlfriend was Karelian. I married her. You know what I mean? Like you remember your first and your last. So your first, you remember. And so that I like first.
How's this team measured up to the expectation you had going into the season?
Uh, we surpassed the expectations that I had going, and not just what took place on the court. Just the 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 chemistry that they have off the court, the way they really really care about each other. Their care factor, their willingness to be coached, and wanting to be coached, and so yeah, it's surpassed it.
So I'm sure after you won Coach of the Year yesterday, you didn't go around pounding your chest saying that's all me. As a coach, who do you thank most when you win that kind of award?
Well, first of all, it's an honor that your peers would vote you that, because I mean, those guys know what we go through day in and day out with the team and stuff. So, just being a coach, so that's an honor. But, it starts with your staff and your players. Like we had two guys first team all Big 12, and if Keontae Johnson, Marquise Noel, and the rest of the guys don't play to that level, then you know there's no recognition for anybody. So winning brings all those things. So you thank your players. I got a terrific staff, man, and they're just incredible. But I mean, we got a group of GAs that spend a ton of hours in the gym with our guys to help them get better, and time at their apartments, and just all the little things that go into allowing a program to be great, and so that you can just focus on basketball. And then we have these terrific wives who allow us to be away from home and spend all this time up at the office, and then they cook meals for these guys and do family dinners on Sundays, just their own personal time where they could be with their husbands and their kids, but they choose to spend more time with these guys to build this chemistry that you guys see. So there's just so many people, and I text Scott and I just thanked him because this doesn't happen without him allowing me to grow as a coach under him and in that program. And we've had multiple guys from Baylor who are coaches. Right? Paul Mills won Coach of the Year in the Summit League. Grant McCaslin's going to be right there in I think that's Conference USA. And then he's won it before. I mean, so there's something that Scott Drew does within his program that builds guys and helps prepare them to be able to be successful when they get their own jobs. So there's just a ton of guys, but people that you'd have to thank. But I'm just really thankful that God gave me this opportunity, and give me a chance to lead my own program and it be this spot.
Do you think winning the tournament in the Grand Cayman kind of validated what you guys were doing and helped along the way too with that early success?
I hadn't really thought about it that way. What I remember about the Grand Caymans is that we had an overtime game and a one possession game, and I think we developed faith in each other during that time. Like we as a staff developed faith in them in those moments to not overcoach and call too many timeouts, and allow them to play, and they developed faith in us that when we did call a timeout, we did say run something, that we were going to put them in the right position to make plays. And so I think and then we saw how focused they could be. The 3 days being focused, knowing that you had an island and water and everything else there. But we just asked them, hey man, let's just stay focused and do what we got to do, and the guys did. And so, I felt we grew in those areas.
Can you explain if there's been anything over the course of the season to really kind of show Naquan's progression and his understanding of basketball?
Well, I think the last few games, you see him making a conscious effort to not pick up as many tic-tac fouls, which allows him to be on the floor more. I think after the Caymans, because he had a really good game. I think it was the first game of the Caymans, and because of his energy level, and then his focus went to trying to do other things rather than be the energy guy that he needs to be, and it took away from what he does best, and he struggled there for a little while, and then all of a sudden he got back to it. So him understanding himself and what makes him a good player, and then what will allow him to help us win games, I feel like those are the two things, maybe areas that he's grown.
And how have you seen him maybe impact games when he's not making shots or not finding high production levels of scoring?
He keeps the ball alive. With his offensively, on the offensive rebounding end, he has a way, because of his length and his speed and athleticism, he can keep things alive. When he doesn't get it, somebody else is going to get it. Just his activity level makes teams have to not just account for him with one guy, but sometimes with two. And when that happens, it opens up something for somebody else. And then his speed up and down the floor. So all those things that have nothing to do with having the ball in your hands, those are ways he can impact winning. And when he does that, then the other part becomes easy for him.
Coach, go ahead.
Looking back, what would be the biggest change you think you had to make going from assistant to head coach?
Ooh. I guess just how much information you're getting from everywhere. And I guess I'll go back, like our first 3 months on the job, there was so many things that needed to be done. And for everyone that was on staff, whatever information they were given to me, it was really important to them. So it was important. His stuff was a sense of urgency, and his stuff was a sense of, and for every one of it was a sense of urgency and very important to you. And I could only do one at a time, and I had to figure out, okay, what was the most important thing at that time to get done, and then put it in order of priority, and then take care of it. And sometimes it meant something that was really important to you got put third or fourth on the list, and then to manage people in that area. So having to manage all the information and figure out what's the next most important thing for us to do, that was probably the most difficult thing.
Coach, you're into the postseason now. At most, you got 9 games. And at Baylor, you've been to the last game and won that game. What have you learned about how to handle your team maybe differently in the postseason than the chunk of the regular season?
Well, I don't know if it's handled differently, but the thing that allowed us, we spent 30 days in the bubble, right? And if you don't like each other, right, nobody wants to spend that amount of time together. And that team, we really liked each other. I mean, we loved being around it. We played games. It was fun all to be around them. And I feel the same way about these guys. Like, we could be in a bubble for 30 days and we'll be just fine. We're going to have a great time. We're going to have more fun than everybody else, right? Because we're just going to come up with stuff that are really cool to do. And so as long as your team doesn't get tired of winning, you got a chance. Now, the hardest thing to do is to win the first game. That's the hardest thing. You got to, because everyone prepares for it. Everybody knows who they're going to play, and they have a number of days to prepare for that. So we're not going to change much of what we do. The media timeouts are longer, so guys may not need as much of a break. But when you've already trimmed your rotation down some, there's going to be one more player that might be a little more frustrated than before. But everybody just wants to win at that point in time, so nobody's really that upset, that kind of thing.
You've said a couple times that the first game of the tournament's the hardest to win. Obviously, you just said you get a lot of time to prepare for the first game, but why is it maybe easier, I guess, to win the second, third, fourth game with less preparation?
Well, both teams have less preparation. I don't think that it's necessarily easier. It just doesn't get harder, because we're both under the same time constraint.
How much are you just going to play then, instead of maybe scouting and practicing and preparing? How much of it turns into just go play and do what we do?
Well, your habits. It boils down to your habits. Let's go be who we are. And there are one or two things we're going to try and take away from another team once in the NCAA tournament. In the Big 12, I mean, everybody knows each other. It's going to be a grind. But in the NCAA tournament, just one or two things you can take away from somebody, but it's more about being yourself.
We've spent the season, Coach, hearing from people talking about how much they appreciate you being in the community. I'm curious, from your perspective, how much fun have you had being in the Manhattan community?
Man, I've had a blast. This is, like, I've said all along, like, basketball just happens to be what I do. I believe by gifting, my gift is ministry, right? And whether that's standing behind a pulpit delivering a message or just being out and touching people's lives, you know, and making their day better, you know, that's probably my gift. And my passion just happens to be basketball. And God happened to put me in a position where I could use my passion on a platform that brings him honor and glory, and in turn makes other people's day a little bit better, you know. And so, but this community has been wonderful in how they've received me and my family, and it's just fun to be around the kids and their excitement and their joy. Yesterday I was I can't get in trouble for like something that already happened, right? So yesterday I'm on my four-wheeler, right? And it's not street legal, but I need to put some gas in it, and I didn't have like one of those big gas cans, so I thought, well, I could drive to the gas station and fill it up. And so I'm zooming down, and the kids are outside. What a beautiful day yesterday, right? I mean, everybody was outside, frisbee, football, and they're hollering at you, Coach, and kids on scooters, and they're happy to see you. And I mean, like, how great is that? You know what I mean? So I didn't get a ticket. I heard a couple woo woo, but they were going the other way. So I was good. I got back to the house safe, and my wife, she was upset. She was like, "You're gonna get arrested. It's gonna be on the news." But I mean, if you don't enjoy this, you shouldn't do it, right? You just shouldn't do it. Like, our guys, our young people, our communities deserve to have someone who really appreciates them and enjoys being around them.
How's Desi Sales doing?
Desi's doing okay. It's a tough situation for him, and I thought one of the coolest things. We apparently have like multiple group chats on our team, and apparently there's quite a few of them that I'm not involved in, right? And so, but they'll tell me, like, Reem told me, he said, "Coach, you should have seen after the game how the guys were texting with Desi, and he was texting back to him, you know, how much they love him and missed him, and he saying how much he loved them and missed them, couldn't wait to be back, and, you know, just be around people who are gonna continue to love and care about him and stuff." So I'm excited to get him back. You know, obviously it's a tough situation, but I think being in this environment is gonna be good for him.
In the context of basketball, you've never talked about Desi without mentioning that he's a winner. How does that manifest itself in the locker room and on a day-to-day basis with your team?
I mean, you know, his cousin passed away the day of the Iowa State game, and he found out about it right after pregame and shoot around. Right, it was in the locker room, and Desi, when they got their phones back, he looked at it, and I was doing media with Wyatt, and then I got a text and said, "Hey, you need to go see Desi in the locker room. His cousin passed away." And so we were at that moment gonna get him in a vehicle or on a flight back home if he needed to. His grandma and mom said it was best for him to stay here. He played 3 games from that point, and I think they were 3 of his best games. So when you talk about how his being a winner and his toughness manifests on the team, you know, we're talking 3 really big games that we won, that he played great in and was able to set aside what was going on in his personal life to perform on the court because he loved his teammates and they loved him.
To clarify, you expect him back in time for the game against TCU?
Yeah, he's going to be here today.
How tough is TCU going to be now that they're, fully healthy once again?
I think fully healthy. I thought fully healthy they were the best team in the league, talent-wise, when you look at their roster and what they had returning. So, but I don't know that you could name an opponent. Like, let's switch TCU and put anybody else in the Big 12. and we would say, man, that's going to be a tough game. And that's what makes this league so great.
Question about Keontae and Marquise. I mean, they seem to have fit like jigsaw puzzles on the court. How early could you tell that they were going to be really good teammates?
Well, because of the kind of people they are, I felt like they would be great teammates. And away from basketball, they both have very caring hearts, and they everyone around them. With Keontae, when we did our research on him, everyone talked about what a terrific human being he was and how his teammates loved him. And being a star the way he is, he's just a talent, right? For all your teammates to like you like that and to enjoy being around you. It means that like you don't think of yourself too highly. And Keith was the same way. Like he understood he needed help here and was willing to work for it to get him here in the recruiting process. So you know he was going to buy into it. They're just both great human beings, man.
How much bigger do you think the chip on Marquise's shoulder gets when he doesn't get Big 12 Player of the Year or something like that?
I don't know. I've tried I hope that our approach to this is that whatever award people give us, we're thankful for. And whichever ones that go to somebody else, that we're gracious and we understand that those people worked hard for theirs too. And I've always been on the side of that whichever team wins the league, the best player on that team should be Player of the Year. And that's how I would have voted had I not coached this. If I was coaching another team, that's how I would have voted. And I think the coach whose team wins the league should get Coach of the Year. And that's how I vote. I voted for Bill. And so I just think to the winners go the spoil. And so I hope that our guys take that, they should have a chip on their shoulder anyhow, right? Not just because somebody else got an award they thought they should get, because we don't play for the awards.
You talked about when you were putting the team together that Ish and Marquise kind of helped, I guess, in the recruiting part of it as far as getting in touch with potential players. Did they also suggest guys to you, and is anybody on the team someone they brought out?
Okay, first of all, they didn't kind of help, all right? They helped a ton, like probably more than the staff, okay? And because kids want to play with kids. Young men want to play with other young men who are good and passionate. And when you're going into the last year of your eligibility, you want to know that the people you're going to go compete with, like they're not selfish, okay? And those guys are not selfish guys. So they were the engine that drove this thing. They knew some about some of these guys, so we did ask their opinion. There were some guys that we brought to the table and asked what they thought. And I remember one in particular, I won't say his name, Keith was like, "Oh, coach, he ain't good enough." Like, all right, bro, we just moved on from it, and so, it's going to be like that in this program moving forward, because these guys are going to let us know whether somebody fits our culture or not.
But there wasn't anybody they suggested to you that ended up?
Not that I can recall off the top of my head, but we ran names by them to see if they knew them or not.
Can you tell us just a little more about how excited you are to play in front of a friendly environment in Kansas City? You mentioned the other day, but what's that contrast going to be like after having pretty much no fan support in there to having, what you can get?
So we would, Coach Drew even like tried to bring it up at one of the Big 12 Zooms or media things, or not media, meetings that we had about, hey, would we ever consider, moving the tournament, to Oklahoma City again or Dallas, moving it, because it's unfair for the teams. He feels it's unfair for the teams up north. And in the past, I've been on his side on that one, but like, man, there's no greater place to have a Big 12 tournament than in Kansas City, man. What a great basketball city with all the restaurants and the location and everything, man. I'm so fired up about that, and so very fired up about having. You remember the Nebraska game? Like I was saying, I was blown away. Right? Like, I remember the guys coming back, Reem and them, after warm-ups, Coach Perry and them, they come back at 35 minutes when they get through the first set of warm-ups, and they were like, Coach, it's like an NCAA tournament game out there. And I was like, what do you mean? Oh, it's packed. I said, no way. That's because I didn't expect it, right? And then you walk out, and I'm telling you, like I pretended I was trying to get something so that I could turn a full circle and just make Siwoo was like, because I didn't want to look silly, like going like, whoa, with my mouth open, like that place. And to know that we could have something like that up there, I mean, I'm ecstatic. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
Is it cool that you're in the 8:30 last game of the first round?
No, I don't know about that one. I would rather have like an earlier, like you always want to. I like 1 o'clock games on Saturday, and I even like the 11 o'clock. The guys don't like that, right? But I like the 11 because you get to get your game over with, and if you win, then you get to watch everybody else sweat all day long, and you can see your score go across the ticker on the bottom. Well, 8:30, you got to watch everybody play, and then you go over, and so. But you know, like I said, our fans are gonna be there, so I'm gonna be excited.
Is the turnaround time a concern though if you do win that game?
Not gonna we play at 8:30 the next night.
Yeah, but I guess the other teams having. more
Nah,
time after, like I said.
that doesn't matter. We're not gonna do anything. We'll go back, sleep, get up the next morning, do a walkthrough, eat and sleep, and then go play.
You get dessert if you win in Kansas City. Is that a road game?
Oh, I don't know. We have to talk to the staff about that one. I don't know. That's a good question right there.
As far as preparing for TCU, how much do you go back to the preparation you gave them when they were in Manhattan when you didn't know if they would have Mike Miles or Eddie Lampkin? Or do you go back further to what you did before going to Fort Worth, or is it all completely new now that's in the tournament?
No, I mean, they become more of the fast break team that they were before. I thought the second time we played them, they tried to control the tempo a little bit more, took fast break opportunities as they presented themselves. I think they're going to try and push the pace more, you know. So I mean, that was going to be a point of emphasis. And then Eddie's different, right? His size, it's hard, you know. So you're going to have the offensive rebounding becomes another issue for you. And but for us, the issue will always boil down to turnovers. If we don't turn the ball over, we're gonna give ourselves a chance to win. If we turn the ball over, we're gonna have be a tough night. So.
And the
Does
system,
Keontae winning comeback player of the year kind of summarize his story this year?
I think it's a nice like cherry on top for him that other people appreciates what he's gone through and how he's handled it and stuff. But man, there's just so much more to his story that's going to be written, and this is just the start of it for him.
and since that TCU played 4 or 5 games without Mike Miles, did their ability to score give them greater confidence in other guys? And now they've got Miles back, make them more dangerous?
In a sense, it could, or it could go the other way when guys think, well, man, I can score, and why is Mike have the ball in his hand? So it's all going to depend on how they handle that. But like I said, this time of year, they got everybody back from a team that they thought maybe could have gone to the Elite Eight last year. And now guys hopefully will stop, not think about themselves and focus on just winning as a team. That's what you hope as a staff is going to happen for you. You know, so it can go either way with that. But sometimes when guys are given more, they continue to expect more when people come back. And the guy who's coming back is thinking, I'm stepping right into the same role I was in. And so now you have to work through that also. So it can go either way.
With the 8:30 start, do you have any midday team activity to kind of get guys up and going?
We're going to talk about that here at 3:15. And so
Anything else for Coach?
Coach, one thing you stressed throughout the year is building a culture here at K-State. How has the process of building that culture gone, and how do you want to continue to build the culture moving forward?
Man, that culture word, you know, I know it's something that a lot of people, there's just a way that we're gonna live and love and communicate with each other, and you know, and it starts with me, and you know, it works its way through the staff and all the way down through the players to the managers to anybody who's a part of the program that we're gonna lead with our hearts, and we're gonna love people, and we're gonna show that we care and not be afraid of it, and treat people with respect, and and hold people accountable to live life at a certain standard, and we're not gonna lower the standard. And if that's what you deem as culture, then I think it's gone well so far, and it will continue, because as long as I'm the head coach here, it's going to be something that I hold my staff accountable to, and everybody involved and around this program too. And I want to come to work and smile every day and have a good time, and I want our guys to come to practice and be excited about being around us. And if we can do that in the toughest of times, then our guys will respond the right way when things are going well.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Hey,